Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Minnesota Mike back with you for another video. This is another one in my vlog series that I do for the Memphis Songwriters Association. And I also write a blog for them, which you can check out on our website, memphisongritersassociation.org. So my blogs focus primarily on songwriting strategies and what strategies have worked for various artists throughout the years, whether they were hits or not. And you can take some of those strategies, of course, into your own songwriting. So, in my second blog about character development, I mentioned a quote from Carole King that praised Joni Mitchell's ability to write for herself rather than writing on assignment or writing for other artists, as King did in the early days of her career. Mostly we focused on people who have written the songs that they sing, but it's also important to talk about the people who write songs for other artists. Though songwriting involves composing, for purposes of this blog, writing is going to be focused on writing lyrics. So we'll take a look at writing on assignment from four different standpoints. You write the lyrics and someone else writes the melody. You write the lyrics and the melody for a movie or TV show. You write the song for another artist. And you write the song and someone else cuts it. So we're going to focus on that first one where you write the lyrics and someone else writes the melody. We're going to focus on that today by looking at Crocodile Rock by Elton John with lyrics by Bernie Taupin. Part of the reason why this topic fascinates me is due to the lack of partnership in modern music. This type of partnership just doesn't really exist. Obviously, co-writing does. Brad Paisley often writes with Ashley Gorley and Chris Dubois, but Paisley has also written and composed on his own. If someone has success with another songwriter, they typically go back to that songwriter. Go back to the late 90s, early 2000s, and present day, and you can see writers such as Max Martin or Benny Blanco listed on many pop hits along with many other writers, but it's rather unclear what each writer's contribution to the song was. So Elton's partnership with Taupin, where Elton would write the music and Bernie would write the lyrics, lasted for 11 albums before Elton worked with any other lyricists. He kept on working with other lyricists, kept on having those partnerships, and then eventually he and Bernie came back. It's also worth noting before we go any further that both writers of the song have dismissed it in recent years. Elton referring to it as a joke, but I chose this song because it differs from his other Bernie Taupin penned songs, in that Elton John came to him with an idea and Taupin took it from there. We contrast this with something like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road and Honky Cat, which Bernie wrote about his retreat to the countryside after life in the spotlight due to Elton's rise in popularity wore him down. The singer obviously brings the song to life, and few people do it better than Elton John, but the songs are mostly about Taupin's experiences. But this song, Crocodile Rock, lyrically reminisces about the early days of rock and roll when he and his ex-flame Susie would go out dancing. No matter what they did, including holding hands and skimming stones, nothing compared to the fun that they had doing the Crocodile Rock. Upon learning about Australian band Daddy Cool's song Eagle Rock, Elton John told Bernie Taupin about it, and Bernie turned it into Crocodile Rock. Obviously, making their own melody and things like that for the most part. It also adds a little twist to the musical nostalgia with the breakup of Elton and Susie, leading to long nights crying by the record machine. On a personal note, I loved this song when I was a kid, but I definitely thought that Elton John had a son named Rock, and the song was about when he and Susie got away from him and all the fun that they had when they did. I must have missed the line in the second verse about Rock dying, because if that's actually what the song is about, it gets really dark in the second verse. So luckily, that's not the case. But melodically, this song contains a piano and an organ, electric guitar, bass, and drums. The Farfisa organ gives that iconic sound to the verses and the chorus for that matter. The na 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 na. And that chord progression is a classic doo-wop progression of the 1-6-4-5. In the key of G major, this particular song goes from G to E minor to C, and then to D. The chorus begins with the E minor, the 6th chord, but then goes to the A7 chord and to the 5 D chord. And the A7 is the secondary dominant chord for D. The D is the dominant 5 chord in the key of G major. The second time through the chorus, we see the E7 chord, which is a secondary dominant to that A7 I mentioned earlier, and to the D7 chord, and then it goes back to G. This is a progression, turnaround that is based on the secondary dominant movement, the circle of fifths progression, as it's also known. And the time signature goes from 4/4 rock to 12/8 meter, which is typical of a doo-wop rhythm. It should be noted that in the second verse, when he talks about long nights crying by the record machine, when we're thinking about 12/8, those are also difficult times. But structurally, this particular song, I mentioned earlier how basically I grew up with this song. And for someone who was exposed to music at such an early age, this is the first song that made me pay attention to song structure. It has a verse, chorus, solo, verse, chorus format. And that isn't really reinventing the wheel. But what did stick out to me was the fact that the third verse was the same as the first. Though this particular structure doesn't always work when telling a story, it does in this particular song because it's all about nostalgia. Everything you need to know about the main character in the song happens in the first 2 verses. There are good times, then those good times go away, as does the person you had them with. But it all comes back to nostalgia and the nostalgia that makes him happy. In the first verse, I remember when Rock was young, etc. And that's the ultimate implied conclusion by repeating that first verse. Of note as well, the chorus doesn't have any words to it. It's just the farfisa organ, like I said, that na 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 na, and that's immediately recognizable to the song. I want to close with a personal note about this song. So my 5th birthday was a Halloween party, and we played musical squares, which is musical chairs with paper napkins. And one of the songs we played was Crocodile Rock. When I returned to my school in 7th grade after a 2-year absence, one of my friends immediately asked me if I still liked Elton John. Of course, the answer was yes, and that's why this song will always be special to me, no matter how its writers feel about it. So embedded in this, actually just linked below in this video, you'll find a link to Crocodile Rock by Elton John. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Minnesota Mike. Be sure to tune in next time and check out all my other videos, including my songs, and then also these vlogs. Make sure you go give some love to the Memphis Songwriters Association website, memphisongwritersassociation.org. Go check out what we're doing with these blogs. I've got one, Joe Matthews has one, and we're getting some good content out there for you. Thank you so much.